Well, as you can see, I'm at a city park today. I come in here quite frequently when Carolyn visits her daughter. Her daughter's got cancer, as everybody knows. And so I come here and I hang out so the neighbors don't get aggravated with me. They have shut down the bathrooms. That makes it a little bit more inconvenient, but it is what it is. I mean, it's here mid-October. The water is still on, so that's good. I don't know if they'll shut that off, but I don't get a lot of water from them. You know, I just get enough maybe to wash my hands or something. No more than I would have used in the bathroom. But that I don't know how much longer they'll have that on. Which brings me to today's subject, which is winter. Last 2 nights it's gotten down into the 30s. They expect it to get below freezing, I think tonight. And last year we were in the pop-up camper here in Missouri, and we got down to 19 degrees in it. We're sitting in someone's yard, and we were able to plug up. We paid rent for $150 a month. And so we had this little ceramic heater, and it did really well. I was actually surprised how well it did. Well, this year we won't have that. And I've made videos for all those who say that we need to find somebody on Craigslist and everything. I've made videos about that, why we're not going to do that. We just feel like the risk is too high. Well, anyway, it got down to 32 degrees. Or into the 30s. I would say it was probably close to 32 degrees I think it was last night. We did pretty well, and we're not near as prepared as we were last year even. We're kind of hoping that, you know, we'll get some more blankets. Of course, I don't have a coat yet. Carolyn doesn't have a coat yet. We gotta get coats. Carolyn only has shorts, so she's gonna have to get some pants. Now, I've said this before too. The reason we don't have these items is because it's just more stuff you gotta carry around. So we'll buy these things and then give them back, you know, like Goodwill. And then we'll give them back to Goodwill at the end of the year. You know, this is the second year we've had to endure the winter. It is not something that I had wanted to do. I mean, I'm just like everybody else. I mean, I'm not quite retirement age and I'm still working. But I had hoped that I would get to spend this time enjoying the warm weather just like everybody else would hope. But, you know, we're here in Missouri and we've got to be here in Missouri. And this year we're going to have to endure more cold weather than we did last year. Which is really good. We got the truck camper. It's better insulated. It's going to do a better job. We tested out the propane heat with the Coleman stove, with the carbon monoxide detector. Not even a hiccup. Everything's going good with that. I can rest a little bit easier that we're not going to kill ourselves with carbon monoxide, which was a big concern for me. It rained all day yesterday, and as I suspected, the front end, the cab over, did get wet. The insulation that I have, the white insulation, didn't get wet, so I'm going to have to insulate the cab over so it stops getting wet. Now, a lot of people will say that propane causes moisture. I'm not sure I agree with that. I've had to deal with propane way too much to say that's the thing. When it's dry outside, like today, you don't get any condensation inside the camper when you're running propane. It's on wet, rainy days is when you get the condensation. What I did there was I just took our little fan and I stuck it up there in the front and it kept it dry. I don't even think we're having a problem with that, but I do need to insulate it. Just gotta go buy it. One of the problems I really see this year is water. I have no room to put water in. We might be able to get a 5-gallon bucket in there. We've talked about it, but having 40 gallons of water is going to be a real challenge keeping from getting frozen. And I don't want to bring a frozen bucket of water in to the camper and let it thaw out. For one, I don't know how fast it will thaw out, but two, I mean, you're just dragging all that cold water in. All the energy, all the propane you use and try to heat the camper, you're going to have to turn up the heat just to thaw that out. So yeah, it may be something as simple as running to town every now and then and getting more water, just having to run to town more frequently. When we left the camper in Florida, it was, it got cold, and a couple times it got below freezing, but not for very long. It'd get below freezing for a couple hours and then pop right back up. And I was always worried that the Berkey filters would freeze. Well, I have the same concern now. If we don't run the heater at night, which, at 32 degrees, your blankets can keep you warm quite well. So, even at 25 degrees, we probably wouldn't run the heater at night. Only during the day, so those Berkey filters can freeze. What I thought about doing last year, and I'm going to have to play with it, is put the filters in the refrigerator. I don't know how well that's going to work. I really don't. It seems to me that the refrigerator should keep the temperature inside the fridge above freezing. If you're at 25 degrees, it should be able to keep it up, you know, just for a few hours while you sleep. But if those Berkey filters freeze, you know, that's $100. If they break, you know, from the pressure of the ice while they're wet, and that's a pretty expensive issue. It's one I had, an issue I had last year and I never had to deal with, but this year I might have to deal with it. You know, it's going to get cold. The other issue I'm going to have is driving around. All the things I've just mentioned is going to be an issue when we drive, because I'm not going to run the heater while I'm running down the road. Back there in the camper, I mean, we're going to have water freezing. The other things you don't think about is like canned foods, they freeze. Bottle of liquid, whatever liquid you might have, vinegar, those kind of liquid products, I'm worried they'll freeze. And the other thing I'm having a problem with is those liquid containers, like our vinegar, our gallon of water. When they get cold at night, because we don't run the heater, and then we turn it on, they condensate. And that causes a lot of water just dripping everywhere. Again, not a huge problem. It's just things that we have to keep an eye on while we're dealing with it. Lay out towels to catch all the water. Make sure we wring out the towels, because man, I certainly don't want things molding this year. You know, we got mold in that pop-up camper all the time. It's all I was ever doing was cleaning mold. This year we've been very lucky. We've had a couple spots of mold. Took some apple cider vinegar, sprayed it, wiped it off, and it has not been an issue. But I just cannot let that get out of hand again this year. You know, every hour or so I'm going to be looking all around the camper, which is going to be a lot easier because the camper's so small compared to the pop-up. So every hour or so I've been looking around, making sure there's no condensation. When the windows get condensation, I open them up. You know, like when we're making coffee, we get condensation. So I open up the windows. Carolyn made a roast. She just cooked it, slow cooked it all day, and there was a lot of moisture. But again, run the fan, open the windows, and it went away pretty quick. Thanks for watching. Click like if you like the video, and happy travels.